welcome back to Policing TV, this second in a series of 3 recordings with Rachel Tuffin of the College of Policing. We're recording this on Rachel's last day at the college before she goes on I think, 6 months career break. So it's quite an auspicious day on which to make this recording. The first recording in this series of 3 has been about Rachel's policing-related career to date. This recording is going to be about, in part, the Centre for Police Productivity, and also about how Rachel's responsibilities are going to be covered within the college whilst you are on that career break. So let me just invite you to respond to those 2 elements there, Rachel, please.
Yeah, great, thank you. Just over a year since we set up the Centre for Police Productivity, and it's been really intense. Maybe that's part of the career break reason, but it's also family stuff. But where we've ended up, I'm just really pleased with. We had a little model that we created, and we just realised the other day that if we changed diagnosis to insight, we've got 4 eyes. So I'll tell you about the 4 eyes, Bernard, in the centre, and the big picture. So the big picture for the centre really is, how do we accelerate the adoption of practices in policing which we can see are definitely going to make a difference to productivity. We all know in policing innovation world about the sort of valley of death, and how things get part way into policing and then drop away. So we're focused on how do we get things implemented right across, for us, across the 43 forces in England and Wales, and other countries will have their own context, of course, but we'll see similar patterns, I'm sure. How do you get these things adopted and really working? And to help us with our arguments, with our kind of internal government arguments about investment, because in policing in this country, we don't have a measure of productivity that we've agreed. And so Treasury and the Office for National Statistics think of us as a flat line. Our input equals our output, because we don't have a measure to show that we're getting more productive over time. So if we can do that, we'll be more convincing in terms of being a place where we're worthy of investment, if that makes sense. So coming to those 4 eyes then, to help us with that, the first thing is to get insight about how to get more productive. So we've created a tool where we can compare the 43, compare how much is going in on something and how much is coming out, and look at those 2 things plotted together. So you can see forces where they're actually spending less on let's say on burglary investigation, but they seem to be doing better than some forces down here in this box who are spending a bit more or the same and not doing as well.
So it's return on investment.
Exactly. And looking at that, we can then say, okay, we think, so there are hypotheses. We're not saying what we think might be happening. We don't know it for sure. But we think, okay, that force looks like it's doing better. Let's go and talk to them, ask them about whether they're doing anything different. Sometimes they don't really know. Sometimes they do, because it might be related to a bigger picture thing about how they're led or their overall performance. But sometimes they say, yes, we do think we know why, and it's this. And they'll point you to a specific piece of practice that they're doing that maybe other forces aren't doing. We can then explore that, share it with the other forces. What we're going to try and do, which we haven't done yet, but we've got a couple of opportunities coming up, is then test that. So one force takes it up, the other force doesn't, and we compare whether we can see that difference in performance. So that's the first bit. And we've developed that tool. We've done it so far on burglary and robbery, and it's in development to kind of add lots and lots more areas as we get more data. We're launching that, hopefully, all going well. That'll be in September. So it's Gavin Bardsley. I should give him a shout out. And then the second part, the innovate part, we've been sifting all of the innovations we found in policing. Policing in England and Wales is amazing in terms of innovation. It really is amazing how much innovation there is. So 1,000 things we've sifted over the course of the past year, 1,000 different ideas in policing at various different stages of development. And from those, we've picked out with a like people from across the sector, from MPCC and PDS and Home Office and the Office of the Police Chief Scientific Advisor, all the colleagues, picked out the ones that we think are the most likely to make a difference in terms of productivity. And those are the ones we're then providing implementation support on. And that's our next I. So implement, provide the support, make sure you're really getting things embedded, because that's the bit, as we've talked about in some of the other videos, where we haven't done enough in the past to really help forces to land things, and to do that in a concentrated enough way. Like, you don't want to waste resource, but how you need to do a pretty concentrated effort on it. And I'll do a quick example in a minute, just to make sure you get it in, not just in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 forces, but across them all. And then finally, measure the difference. And this links back to what I was saying about being persuasive as a good place for investment in the future. Hey, I could add another I, couldn't I? And invest on the end. But anyway, is impact. So measuring impact. And that is the bit where we've been very variable in this in the past. Some people call it benefits realization in sort of project management speak, but effectively not just being able to show that, let's say, policing saved some time, but they've actually taken that time, reallocated it somewhere else, and seen a performance difference as a result of doing that. Or they've seen an immediate performance difference in the place where they saved the time, but that's actually been captured, and we can show that we're getting better. So in the case of reduction, to use a quick example, so this is software that allows forces to automate removing the kind of identifiable information in police paperwork so that it can be then shared, rather than people having to do it manually. Sounds like a no-brainer, but not all forces were doing it. And when you dig into it, there's a number of reasons why they're not, because we picked that as one of our examples. You can help them in different ways. So some of them, they just need help with a business case, and the business case, another force has done it, and they're perfectly happy to share it. Or there's an issue about the backlog they've got in their DDAT area. So they just got too much change going on already. And that might be the case for other change kind of bandwidth issues. And then finally, and I think this is really critical, in some forces, they have got it and they've implemented it, but it's not generating any impacts, because when they first put it in place, it was a bit glitchy. It put the officers off. And so now they're not using it, even though they've actually got access to this great software, because the landing of it at the beginning didn't work very well. And then you've got to go back around and go, okay, it's fine now, it's working really well, let's go back, let's make sure they get it. So those 4 I's, that's really working well for us as a sort of little structure. And then the next step, and I should say, on those 4 things, there's a thing for each thing. So there's a tool for insight. There's a catalogue of all of those innovations. There's a guide for implementation, and then there's a playbook. It's a bit of a cheesy term, but anyway, for the benefits bit. Those are all available if people email us at productivity. Sorry, in England and Wales it's available. We can have a discussion if you're from outside of England and Wales. productivity@college.police.uk, and we can share some more about that. But it looked like you were kind of coming with a question.
Yeah, a couple of things. I was just going to acknowledge the DDAT acronym, Digital Data and Technology.
Yes.
I suspect it's also applicable elsewhere. But also, I just want to express my enthusiasm for having the 5th I there, because investment is key. And indeed, the Treasury are not, perhaps extraordinarily is not quite the right word, but really tight on monies that they make available to policing. And the more evidence, and police, of course, deal in evidence day in, day out, the more evidence that can be provided to the Treasury, and indeed around the world, provided to those that provide the money for this sort of investment, that has to be absolutely key to development of great policing practice around the world. So,
and it is invest and save. It is invest to save, of course, because you can invest in these amazing solutions, which will then generate you more.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's a virtuous circle. But look, I know it's your last half day now, so the chance that you'll have to add that fifth eye, I think, is severely limited. But
Well, my colleague Nerys, who I'm going to mention now, just to finish this bit off, is sitting out there in the open plan office. So I will mention it to her, and that's the reason why I'm so confident, so happy to go off on this career break. My colleague Nerys has been doing the Director of What Works role, covering for my substantive role while I've been doing this work on productivity for the past over a year, and has been doing a fantastic job. It's just too good an opportunity for me. When we discussed, actually, we're going to merge these jobs together now, the productivity director and the What Works director. It just made sense in terms of how much money was still available for this area, because it was originally going to be 10 million for the productivity work. And because of all the changes, of course, it's not been that much. It's 2 million. And that makes sense for it to be one director post. And we're bringing in a colleague underneath from ex-MOPAC. James Bottomley has also worked in the Home Office and in the Met, but he's known in policing, he's done work on police performance previously. And I think there's a fantastic opportunity with the two of them working together. Nerys has been leading work on performance improvement, working with what we call in this country engaged forces. So it's forces who've been told by our inspectorate that they need to improve. We're also working with forces who are being monitored, so they might have some issues, and working with them to improve. And bringing those two things together, the productivity work and the performance improvement work, is a fantastic opportunity, I think. And the two of them doing that together is just going to be great.
so a name check for Nerys. I don't think you mentioned her surname, but believe it's Nerys Thomas. And
It is
also
indeed.
MOPAC, another acronym for those overseas, Mayor's Office for Policing and Crime. It's effectively the Metropolitan Police's governance body. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but in essence, James, I think you said, is coming from a focus on the Metropolitan
That's right.
Police to have a more national stroke England and Wales role on this. So um, you've covered, I
Maybe
think,
one more thing I could mention, if that's all right, Bernard. Sorry, I just thought there's one thing I should add on about the next steps, which I think is really, really exciting. And it's in the area of AI. So I know this is obviously it's an area lots of people are interested in at the moment, but there are two specific pieces of work that are being taken forward, which will be very much watch this space, and I think would be ones that you might well want to speak to Nerys and James about in the future. So one of them is a tool that we've developed to harvest all of our great authorised professional practice, CPS guidance and legislation, and to produce plain English answers and support for officers who type in what they want from it. So we're doing that work at the moment with Greater Manchester Police, testing that out. So it's early test. It's the first phase of that testing. It's looking really, really promising. So that's quite exciting. And then also we're working with a number of forces around sort of statement assistance. So how to help officers to produce statements. So these are both using those kind of large language models that we hear about, basically things like ChatGPT-4. It's using that kind of technology, and others are available. Google Gemini, for example. But it's using that kind of technology to produce support to officers. So it doesn't make decisions for them, but it's decision support, and that is looking really, really promising. And I think that will be exciting territory over the next 6 months as well.
So lots there for hopefully Nerys and James to come and talk to us on Policing TV about, and I do very much look forward to speaking with them in the not too distant future. Again, so much to try and cover in a relatively short period of time on this in this series of three, where we're looking past, present, future. We've now pretty much dealt with in the time available the present. We're going to move on in video 3, which we will record in a moment or two, to the future. So some thoughts from you on challenges and opportunities for policing, and indeed we'll reflect just a little on the career break that you're taking, just a little that bit on that. But Rachel, again, Rachel Tuffin from the UK College of Policing, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you, Bernard. Thanks.